Welcome to the Val and Ann Show. I'm Val.
I'm Ange.
All right, on the field, off the field.
We got your game plan.
Let's take the game to the next level.
Let's go. All right, Val. We're going to dive back into the highs and lows of the week. So tell me, what were the highs and lows of your week?
I'm on an all-time high. I'm not even gonna lie. It's been a good week, a hot week. I am extremely proud of how the athletes have handled the week. And I think we started off Monday, gave them a week-long resume. Mm-hmm. And they have attacked it, embraced it. So I'm extremely proud of how the athletes have handled this week, especially the ones that show up and, they embraced it.
How was traveling for lacrosse?
It was awesome. We had a really good weekend up in Hershey, PA. Our 28s went undefeated, ran the table, played some top teams in the nation. Our 26s did the exact same thing. Our 27s, this is their recruiting year, so they're finding themselves. They're having some fun with it too. A lot of highs and lows there as far as emotions, but they are 100% staring it in his eye. They're not running away from it. They're like, screw it. Where we put ourselves in these moments. So it's fun to see. At times it can be frustrating, but it's fun to see these young ladies grow up and start to mature in this game, and especially this time of their lives.
How have you kept up with getting so much busier? You taking care of yourself?
No. This is the part where you sacrifice your time. And now this is where the 3 a.m.s come into play. So those 3 a.m.s, they're not as rough because I prepared myself for it. So now I'm up at 3 a.m. and I'm prioritizing, and now I'm getting into it. So I work out before I really get started in everybody else's day. So
good.
Am I taking care of myself? Hell yeah. I'm really doing more meditation work, as we talk about.
I love that.
I start to because when I don't get the opportunity to get mine in, I breathe and I find the things that I need to work on. Mm-hmm. And I am so militant with my time where I'm like, listen, I got 30 minutes. What can I do within 30 minutes? Mm-hmm. And it might be a full mobility circuit that I started to create for myself, and I'm doing that. I'm like, holy smokes. I wake up the next morning, I'm sore.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I'm finding that time is precious with, especially for yourself. Mm-hmm. So I'm finding new ways to balance it out, especially now that the busy time is hitting and it just creeps up on you like a fog.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
It's here. Screw it, let's go. And I'm not pushing myself to work out with the athletes. They're up to that part now.
Yeah.
I can get into there and start lifting with them a little bit more, but some you have to watch and monitor a little bit more, but we're watching and monitoring, but now I'm pushing them. So I say, listen, if I give you 15 to 20 pull-ups, you got to give me at least 10.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that triggers you to get in there.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, so you didn't have any lows. I love that. You don't have to.
No?
No. Mm-mm. I would say my highs were, it's just summer and getting programming ready, and you get a little bit more time to yourself. Started a couple part-time jobs, and I love the connection piece of being like a little waitress, going back to my roots there a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Creating a ton of practicing the whole what I do for a living now. It's like a constant conversation that I'm becoming more fluid with, which is cool, because it's not simple anymore. Not just a teacher. Mm-hmm. A lot of things, a lot of hats. So that's cool. And I say the lows would be, it went from raining to super hot. So I'm kind of obsessed with 80-degree days, but you can't control the weather. So, but I think good weather's coming, and I'm just hoping that the 4th of July weekend is great for anybody with a business on the shore and just bringing good, good stuff to the area. So today we decided we're going to talk about dealing with pressure as an athlete. So starting out, clearly I'm going to talk about how I dealt with pressure as an athlete. And I think for me, it was my preparation and putting not what I wanted as the goal, but what my teammates and what we decided was the goal. Took the pressure off of me on how I had to perform, and know I had to perform for something bigger than myself. So that was a mindset that I used. How about you? How'd you deal with pressure?
And, learning that you're not by yourself. And I figured that out in high school. It was my senior year. Got a brand new basketball coach. I think it was my third coach in 4 years. And he comes to me and was like, I'm going to need you. I need you. And I was like, I got you. I got your back, coach. And I had to put a team together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had guys that didn't play for 2 years. Last time they played was their freshman year, because everybody else graduated. And I put so much pressure on myself, like, okay, we got to go win. But I lost the sight of the team, and I felt I had to do everything, like score points. I went to the coach and I was like, this is just too much.
Mm-hmm.
This is too much. I can't be the captain of this team. And he was like, you don't have a choice. And those words alone grounded me to a point where I don't have a choice, because this is my team and I don't need to be the leading scorer. I don't need to be the person that's always getting interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn that in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally walked out of school and I was like, we got a game this night. And I went home and I just sat, talked to my mother. And she was like, just do what you do and have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Because when you put pressure on yourself, you lose the fun aspect of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that defining moment. Well, have fun playing this game, because this game won't last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that took away so much pressure, to finish out my senior year of a basketball season. I had a whole lot of fun doing it, and we had fun just playing the game together.
Yeah.
And your teammates started trusting you, started believing in you, but you started to believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Definitely. All right. Do you agree with that pressure is self-created? Do you think we put our own pressure on ourselves?
We put pressure on ourselves, but we get pressure from different angles. Like I'm being a coach and, listening to your players, and understanding that pressure can come from, your parents, come from your environment.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it comes from your environment, trying to keep up with the likes of others.
Mm-hmm. Like,
there's pressure to go Division I.
Mm-hmm.
Can we stop with the pressure of wanting to go Division I? Because there's so many schools out there that you can go get the same education, if not better, and come out, into a wonderful job or, a way better person than if you went Division I. Because when you go D1, you got that pressure of, the media and all. Like, you're going to have it wherever you go.
Yeah.
But 100% pressure is self-inflicted, because you are in control of you.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let the environment, apply pressure. Don't let nobody else apply pressure to want to keep up with the likes of others. I'm going to find the name of this movie, but it was about the rowing team.
Oh, yeah. It was on Netflix. It was back in the day. It was a true story.
His dad kept putting pressure on his kid to go make the Olympics.
Yes.
He was leading in such a wrong way. And he was being hard on his teammates, but he was losing sight of his teammates. It's not just you in the boat. You're not by yourself. You have the other guys in the boat, and you have to be in sync. And the one that led the team was in sync with everybody and was like, not yelling at them, not losing them. But the whole part of that was the dad was putting pressure on this kid to be the Olympic team. I'm like, this dad is overbearing.
Yeah.
Like, relax, dude. Like, what are you doing? You're putting so much pressure on this kid, to do X, Y, and Z just so he can get his results.
Yeah.
But losing sight of it, if you don't win, forget about his results. It has to happen as a team.
Yeah.
So.
Pressure, was that yours?
Yeah, I kicked on.
So pressure shows up. I don't even know if some athletes can identify what pressure looks like. I think it comes across in many different ways. So pressure comes across as physical symptoms and mental symptoms. Like we were just talking to Bean.
I call her Bean.
Bean, and she was saying that she had a summer where she had a mental like breakdown or whatever she said, and she felt it. Her body froze up, and she was trying to grip her stick, and she was frozen. And it's a tightness in your muscles. You feel like you're in cement, I think, physically, and then mentally it's negative self-talk. It's anxiety. It's constantly thinking, well, what if? I should have, I could have, I would have. And that's when you know that you're under some sort of pressure. So whether it's self-inflicted through your expectations and comparison, or it's your parents putting the pressure on, or your coach putting the pressure on, you cannot perform if your pressure gets to that unhealthy level.
But would you say that, like, could it be pressure that comes from just wanting to do great?
So I think that when you get to those levels of your body freezing up, of anxiety, of the negative self-talk, I think that's an unhealthy pressure. But everybody has to have pressure. You turn pressure into power. You take pressure because you live on pressure. Like, I live on pressure. I'm a procrastinator. If someone gave me a week away deadline, it would be done an hour before, and I wouldn't even think about it till the hour before.
Not me.
I love pressure. It's my favorite thing, but I thrived in it because I prepared for it. You're ready for it. It was just, some people don't do well with pressure. So what are some strategies that you give, the people in the gym for pressure? Do they ever open up and talk to you about it?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with me, I can see it in them.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, what is wrong with this person today? Right? They're not moving like themselves. Right? Oh, it's June 15th. Breathe.
Yeah.
I automatically breathe. Like, especially with their whole recruiting process, there's so much pressure built up. What if I don't get a phone call? I'm just like, breathe. Like, if you did the legwork to get to this point, and every opportunity you had, you gave it your all, whatever comes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just take a deep breath and just have fun with this process.
Yeah.
Because you say it all the time, it is a process.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not having fun with it, right, what's the point of doing it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of doing it? If I'm not having fun with what I'm doing anymore, I promise you I'll walk away.
Yeah.
I promise you I'll walk away. But that's just me. Everybody else handles their pressure a completely different way.
Yeah.
I love pressure because I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I put myself in this situation, right? And I hope my athletes feed off of me when it comes to pressure situation. I talk to them. I put them in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, that's huge.
Right?
I love you said that.
Right? How are you going to handle yourself in this moment now?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Are you going to fold, or are you going to find a way to slow it down, or are you going to find a way to break through that wall and continue to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about how you want to stare at it, how you want to handle it. How are you going to run away from it? Or are you going to say, no, I can't do this right now? Can't is not in our vocabulary.
Yeah. And nerves. You need nerves. Nerves show that you care. Mm-hmm. Nerves push you forward. But
your emotions.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you need them. And, I hear a lot like, I'll reach out to a kid and I'll be like, how's your summer going? And they're like, oh, summer's great, but I know I'm going to put a lot of pressure on myself because it's my senior year. Well, what kind of pressure are you putting on yourself? Like, it depends what the answer is. Like, yeah, you're going to put pressure on yourself to work as hard as everybody? Absolutely. You're going to put pressure on yourself to control your body language? Absolutely. But if you put pressure on yourself to be the best and carry your team on your shoulders, you're never going to handle it. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
I agree with that. You gotta be able to grab your pressure, and control it. Mm-hmm. And then whatever happens from there, happens from there.
Yeah.
You have to be in control of it. It's like anxiety. Anxiety is a very, not overlooked word anymore. It's real. And you have to learn how to handle it. If you grab it and you say, no, not right now. And I always believe the best way to deal with it is put yourself in the situation. What caused me to be in this moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
High pressure situations, you can handle. I mean, Think about a doctor.
Yeah.
A doctor gets somebody comes in on a stretcher, bleeding out somewhere. Like, they don't got time to panic.
Yeah.
They got to say, well, we got to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all your training comes in and kicks into play.
Yeah.
You know, I look at situations like that. You know, somebody has it worse than me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody right now is dealing with something worse than me.
Yeah.
What do I have to complain about? Where's my pressure coming from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
do you know that anxiety is actually you thinking about something in the future and something behind you? But if you're actually in the present moment, you can be aware of your anxiety, and it's actually good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Because I think anxiety is thrown around a lot, and I don't think all anxiety is bad. I think you have to flip the script on it, in my opinion.
It's not. You got to use it for what it is and understand it. And, you know, young kids have it.
Oh my gosh.
Young kids have it.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching
I was just going to say, does your son and daughter ever use the word, or do they use the word stressed?
No.
No, that's good.
My son doesn't know that he deals with it, but
yeah,
it's something that triggered him.
Mm-hmm.
And it always happens around anywhere between February and March, and it's so hard to get him out of that funk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a fight, and you know, as a parent, you got to catch yourself, and it's hard because it would trigger you as a parent. Like, what's going on? Like,
yeah.
And at that age, they really can't, you know, explain themselves on what is happening, and they tell you 100 different things.
Yeah.
But it all comes back to this one thing, that is one incident that happened in the past,
mm-hmm.
to what they've seen in school, to what, you know.
Does he open up and talk to you about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
My kids got no problem.
Yeah.
We have an open door. Like, you tell us what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I can't help you if you don't tell us. And they both do it, you know, and they both talk to us and they tell us, like, listen, we don't hide anything from them.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Now, like you said earlier, your basketball coach came up to you at maybe you were 15, 16 years old and told you that the team's on your back. Do you think in 2025 we can put that pressure on a kid?
All depends on who the kid is.
Okay.
all depends on who the kid
is.
You know, and that you got to know that kid to say, like, listen, you know, you do that. I can handle it because I never overthought it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I had to figure out how to handle it in my way. Mm-hmm. You know, all depends on who the kid is today. You know?
Do you know why you didn't overthink it? Because you were focused in on it.
Yeah.
You didn't have the distractions.
No, I did not have distractions.
Yes.
I did not have distractions. The only distraction I had was just winning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it wasn't a distraction. It was a want to and a will to win.
Yeah.
You know, not just for myself, but also for my teammates, because, you know, hot summer days in the gym and you're going against, you know, grown men coming in that's scrimmaging us, you know, from a Reggie Garrett that played at Seton Hall to, you know, guys that just run you out of the gym. Mm-hmm. We ain't got time to think. We got to figure out how to play together. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, sometimes I questioned, like, shit, I need a guard. Like, I need big. But we had it all. We just had to find ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what I'll tell today's athletes. You know, that one, are labeled captains.
Yeah.
You know, two, consider themselves as leaders on the team. You know, you don't have to yell at people to get the most out of them.
Yeah.
You have to learn about your teammates to get the most out of them. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference. And, you know, my teammates were my friends, you know, as well as my teammates. And, you know, our rides to school in the morning, I just drive by and pick them up. You know, it wasn't just basketball. It was just, we had that brotherhood that we, you know, till this day, if we see each other, man, it's like, Val, what's up? Man, what's up? That's how we were, you know, and we were some sort of a family, you know, a family away from our families, you know, and that was just, and that's how we played and won together.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
As a coach, what could we tell coaches on how to deal with their athletes, putting out pressure on athletes?
well, learn about your athletes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about this all the time. You know, when you know your teammates, when you know your team
Yeah.
individually, you know, you get the most out of them, and you know how to talk to a player. You know, you can't talk to every player the same way. You know how to coach and teach because you're giving them instructions. You know, and you have to teach them. You know, I fall victim of it. You know, I got my starting Mike linebacker. He's okay, I got it. He goes out and does it. The backup doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so stand next to me, listen to me, move as I move, watch and learn.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
at the same time, I'm feeding you instructions, but yet I want you to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Go make your mistakes.
Yes.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not applying pressure on him. I could tell this kid didn't feel comfortable going in. So I say, "Kid, just stay right here with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll walk you through everything."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because we're not trying to win right now. I need you to win come week 0.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna need you on the field at some point. Like, knock on wood that nothing happens to our starting backer, but you're the next man up, and I need you prepared.
Yeah.
So, that was a moment for me this past Monday, was learning about this kid that he wasn't comfortable going in that situation.
Yeah.
This was his practice.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
I was like, all right, let me back off, because
Yeah.
I was like, go, get in there, go, get in there. And the kid wouldn't go. I'm like, okay, let me
Mm-hmm.
back off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I told him to stay with me. If you got any questions, just text me and we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll figure it out because he's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a good kid too. So it's like, I want the most for you in this moment, in this season, because this is your season.
Yeah.
So
I think talking about pressure for coaches is important to minimize like what it means, so a kid's not guessing what that looks like.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel it in this way? Like, pressure shows up when a kid doesn't want to go to practice or doesn't want to perform or constantly misses practice. Maybe that kid is dealing with pressure to be great and he's not, or pressure to make the team and he doesn't think he can. I think it's that open line of communication of like identifying those behaviors. Like you said with your son, like, I mean, I see it with my nephew, he's 3.5. He gets anxiety when he's told no, because he's always told yes. And so he freaks out and, he gets anxious and he has like a tic. And I'm just like, it starts that young, and because we're more aware. So it's like putting them in situations to where no is the norm. Putting them in situations where they've seen themselves deal with pressure and turn it into power is what I like to say, which is cool. Yeah, definitely.
I like that.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
self-evaluation of your own kids, but self-evaluation, as a coach's standpoint, and also you when you're working with your athletes as well. It's self-evaluation. Not just for the athlete, but also yourself. Because you got to learn in that situation.
Pre-game rituals are huge for pressure. So what you do before you go into a game, and if it's the same thing every time, it takes your mind off of the end game, and it just keeps you in that moment to know, all right, warm up is X, Y, and Z. I listen to this music, a little visualization, a little breath work. Now I'm going to go compete. If you don't do those things just religiously, then when you're panicked and you haven't done that routine, I think pressure just eats you alive for breakfast, in my opinion. Like if you don't have any kind of routine, Do you remember if you had one?
Oh, I had a routine.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I had a routine. I had one in high school, one in college.
Yeah.
One when I played pro. I had a routine. Like like I said, I'm very militant.
Yeah.
And it was a workout. Like I had to work out because working out gets me going.
Yeah.
So
I love to see the NFL players before the games. Like I watch the NFL and the Mahomes, what he does in the back of the end zone when he sits back against the thing is the same thing every time. He walks a certain way, does a certain thing. And that's all, honestly, it's working on his mental health to prepare him for the game.
Well, that way if you're balanced and you're ready to go. Like,
yeah.
What's the guy from Buffalo walks in barefoot?
Oh, yeah. He's grounded to be grounded.
He
Yeah.
He walks in barefoot. I'm like, It's Buffalo. It's cold.
He's still going to do it, though.
There's some hypothermia on your feet, though. But what works for him, that's one of the top receivers in the NFL.
Yeah. A lot of the kids call it superstition now. I asked the athlete, like, what do they do, right, when you get up to the plate? She's like, oh, I tap the E, I do this. She's like, it's superstitious, though. I have to do it. I'm like, no, that sets you up because you're ready. It's not just superstition. Like, maybe superstition is wearing the same pair of underwear every game, but, without washing them, but that's different.
Everybody has that superstition.
Yeah, that's different.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't change your socks if you won them for weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
Okay. You got it.
That's different than pregame. Definitely.
Big time.
So last question about pressure is, how can we minimize it for our athletes? No matter what we're coaching, you with performance, me mental, what would you say is the best way to minimize pressure when talking to them?
I think you might have to go first on this one.
Okay.
Because for me, I'm gonna throw you in the fire.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, that's definitely a strategy as long as the kid can handle that. But I think also, not just saying to a kid, hey, go be great today. Make sure they know they're great through conversations that you've had prior. Because what if they're not feeling great and then that pressure just came on top of them? That coach just said, go be great. But like right now, I feel like I want to cry. So I think like asking them more questions, like, do you feel great today? And then now go be it because you are. I think there's a way that you can flip the script for athletes. And I know that some people might say, wow, that's like really coddling them. But to me, you're empowering them to recognize their greatness and to make them feel that inside of them through a conversation,
Well, one of the things I say, and, we had to deal with a meltdown this past weekend. I'm like, just be you.
Mm-hmm.
Just have fun being you. And, like I said, it's their recruiting time. And when you see all these coaches on the sidelines that they peak. I'm like, stop looking at them. Like,
yeah,
they're watching you. Go be you. And we always say before we break, just play the game and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Practice this game day in and day out. Just have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so much is caught up on the pressure of wanting to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Just have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun doing what you do. Who cares if you make a mistake? Make the mistake. But learn from the mistake. Don't make the same stupid pass that you made. Right? The basics of catching the ball. Catch the ball, see it through, and just go be you from there.
Yeah.
Like I
love that you're saying be you.
They lose the aspect of, just having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like forget about it. It's just a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game that can help you, but build your future. But at the end of the day, you still got to have fun with what you do. If you're not having fun with it, I'm sorry. Forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it.
You got to get them back to that.
It's gonna ruin you, and
Mm-hmm.
and it will have you spiral into a dark hole as opposed to standing on top of it and just doing what you're supposed to do and having fun with what you want.
It's always funny, like when you ask a athlete like our age or even younger to say, what would you tell your younger self? Everybody says to just have fun. Everybody says, I wish I just believed. Everyone says, I just wish I was myself. Because you learn that later on, that if I had the chance one more game, like I wouldn't worry about anything but competing. Like being, there wouldn't be anything more than that thrill of competition for me. Like it's just.
I never really put pressure on myself, as far as like game time and stuff like that, because I this might sound messed up, but I really didn't care. I didn't, because
it would work out.
Yeah, no, like I played the game for the love of the game.
Yeah.
Forget about everything. I'm gonna go out and compete. If I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. I'm gonna learn from this.
Yes.
Like I've lost games, but it was like, okay, I'm not laughing after the game. Like, no.
Yeah.
I just went out and I played. I didn't have a care for my body.
Yeah.
And you tell me to run through somebody, I'm going to run through your soul.
I like
and
that.
And that was just, I played the game and I played every play like it was my last play.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't care.
Well, you didn't care about things you couldn't control.
Yeah, I didn't care. I wasn't that person that was hung up on, oh, I have to win this game.
Yeah.
No, we're going to go out here and do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if I'm relaxed, guess who else is relaxed?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else around me is relaxed.
Yeah.
If I know what check I'm supposed to make from the line of scrimmage, I'm going to make the check. If I don't make the check, we're all wrong.
Yeah.
If I make the check and I put us in, we're all right.
Mm-hmm.
And I could honestly say, like, back to coaching football this year, I tell my Mike linebacker, I'm like, if you're wrong, be wrong altogether, because they're all listening to you.
Yeah.
I don't care what check you make it, because I gave you the green light to do it.
Yeah.
As long as everybody got the same check, and I don't want one person to say, "Oh, I didn't hear it."
Mm-hmm.
Now I heard them because I'm way on the sideline.
Yeah.
You better hear it. You better be checked in.
Yeah.
You better be dialed in. So.
Yeah.
I really didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was the same way in basketball. Like, everything was move and react.
Yeah.
You know, now it's just such a structure to it where sometimes you lose your athleticism because you're overthinking things.
Yes. That's a good point.
You know, that's what I meant by, like, I didn't care. Like, I'm a good athlete. I'm going to go out and just do me.
Yeah.
You know, screw it.
It was also a long time ago.
Not that long. Not that long. I was 42 years of age.
That's not bad.
That's
No.
not bad.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm only 6 years older than you.
You're a young pup.
All right. So, one last thing about pressure. What would you say?
Turn your pressure into your passion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, turn your pressure into your passion. You know, because pressure brings pain. Pain brings passion. You know, once you understand what you're passionate about, you know, you'll have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Turn your pressure into passion.
Got it.
Yeah. What about you?
I would say to be aware of what the pressure looks like. Eat it up. If it's good pressure, if it's bad, be aware why. Find out why. Find out where it's coming from. Don't ignore it, because it will come up again and again if you don't address exactly what's happening to you. Hands down.
Yeah.
You know, can't, in this day and age, you can't ignore it. It will come back in like 10 years. That's for sure. Yeah. You know, why you're dealing with it. Because it's not just athletics that you're going to be under pressure for. As a parent, whatever your career is, there's going to be moments when you feel a pressure to be everything to everybody. And you need to learn how to deal with it and see when it's actually, you know, not good for your physical or mental health. So, all right. Till next time.
Till next time. Val and Ann Show. All right. See you in a bit.